So my name is Bob Bennett. I'm also a student at Learn with Kelly and our classmate Toby as well, who'll be presenting later. So I wanted to use this basically as a reason to look into something that I knew absolutely nothing about. And as I started to do that, I realized how big of a hole I was digging. So it's going to just basically a very brief introduction to it and the reasons that I think that it is a valid option. It's not by any means all-encompassing, but as a first line, it's something to look into. All right, so it basically it refers to the deliberate act of making your code unreadable to human eyes. And you still want to maintain all the functionality involved. All right. If you look at it from a business standpoint, say your team spends months, even years, even putting together a piece of software, and you want to have as many measures in place to protect that code. And if you think about it, the time and money that anyone could put into trying to reverse engineer that, it would probably, in the end, just be a lot cheaper for them to just buy your product from you. So it's, it's weighing the cost benefits. Right. And also, it can be used to trace the origin of anyone's illicit version of your software. And the argument behind that is basically the time and money that it costs to obfuscate your software, as opposed to having it just be free. You can do multiple obfuscations of it and just distribute them to specific clients. And that way, if one pops up that was not authorized, it's very easy to go back and figure out the origin of where that came from. All right. And again, this is not intended to be a all-encompassing kind of thing at all. It's just my understanding of it. So, at the very base of it, it renames methods and functions to something that just really wouldn't make sense to the average person looking at your code. For example, say you have a function, get record from database. That's a fairly straightforward name for it. And you put it into an obfuscator, and it would change it to something along the lines of that. Which really, there's no correlation between the two. If you're just trying to read through the code and restructure it, you're not really going to know what that's referring to. So, next step of it would be to actually change the structure of the code, which an example would be we have another fairly simple, straightforward block of code that anyone with any sort of experience would be able to read it and understand what's going on, and then put it into an obfuscate. Oops, sorry. And it would return something like this, which obviously is a lot harder to read, and it's going to take a lot more time to figure out really what's going on in there. And actually, one of the reasons that I decided to look into this more was I was shown a feature on a site by actually a classmate of ours who's here tonight, and it was the particle separator, I believe it was called. It was on the Team Geek website, which if you haven't, I tried to get a screenshot of it, but it didn't work very well. So it's basically when you mouse over it, it kind of blows up into all different little tiny particles all over your screen. And I looked at it, and it ended up being, I think it was like 21,000 lines of code, and I immediately then decided I was not going to try and figure it out. So that is just case in point. It's worth looking into. And that's pretty much everything I've got. If you want to go online and check out a few different ones, some of them are free, some of them charge for it. But basically, go into Google, just type JavaScript obfuscator or whatever languages you're looking for, and first 5 pages or so are just going to be lists of people trying to sell you their product. So that is pretty much it.